Guys, welcome to today's video. We are going to be building this 4570 Government in the Ranger Point precision gear. Let me show you what it can do, but the rifle didn't start its life like this. It looked completely different. But before we get there, let's see. Woo! Guys, the tribe has spoken. I asked you in a previous video whether you would rather see me build out the custom training rifle bat machine MDT ACC Elite 223 Remington training rifle, or would you rather see me build out this, the Marlin 1895 stainless steel 4570 Government. Holy moly, this was the overwhelming win. So in today's video, we're gonna do just that. Let's freaking go, baby. So let's have a look at this beautiful 4570 Government. Now, recently, Marlin was acquired by Ruger and the quality control and things are allegedly better. Now, I've had this rifle for quite a while, or I've technically owned it, but because our licensing process takes quite a bit of time and then we went into our sort of busy precision rifle season, I haven't actually gotten around to making this video. Now, this sound is arguably more satisfying than a bolt action, a slick bolt action. Let me know. So, super cool. Now, I'm gonna strip off pretty much all this wood furniture, and I know a lot of people are gonna be like, Pete, why are you doing that? There's nothing wrong with it. Yes, there's nothing wrong with it, but I like tinkering on the channel, and that's kind of what we do. So, I reached out to the only company I wanted to work with on this project because I've seen their stuff on social media and it looks absolutely phenomenal. And then I also found a friend, Brian, to get some references and stuff, and he said he absolutely loves working with their stuff. So this little white box is filled with a whole bunch of Ranger Point precision stuff. Now I've got the Chris Costa handguard that's gonna go on there. I've got some quivers for bullets in the back on the buttstock here. I've got the buttstock over there. There are a whole bunch of things. Now, interestingly enough, all the stuff to kit out this comes in this little box versus when you're obviously getting an ACC or something like that, you've got this Mursa MDT box that you're working with. Now, we've got quite a few bits of extra things. For example, we have a complete new lever assembly down there, so we're gonna change that out. I'm not as proficient at working on these types of firearms as I am with the bolt actions. Obviously, that's our bread and butter back there. But my goal with this little rifle is ultimately to potentially shoot a buffalo if I do have that opportunity. And I think that's what we're gonna do with this. We're gonna kit it out. I have shot this before at the range. It shoots really well. I just loaded Varget, and I'll share some of the details and the stuff. I don't have that off the top of my head. But I'm gonna start disassembling it. It's kind of gonna be one of those, turn here, see what happens, see what comes loose. I'm gonna assemble this baby and show you guys what the final product looks like. At the moment, I'm running a little Viper dot on the side of this thing, just a little Vortex red dot. I might actually swap this out for like a 1:6, maybe a 1:10 type optic. Let's see what this final product looks like, and then we can chat about some options with regards to the optic. I just threw this guy on because I wanted to take it out to the range and try shooting it with some iron sights. The limitation that you obviously have here is that there's no adjustment on this buttstock, so adding accessories like this, very much like we have with the MDT stuff too, just gives you that modularity to kind of build this out into what is ultimately your vision. Let me know. I'm also very tempted to do custom laser engraving on this stainless section here to give it a little bit more flavor and make it a little bit more unique to my side. We've got quite a lot of area to work with here, so that's something I might consider doing in the near future. Anyway, oddly satisfying. Let's get this puppy disassembled. I think I'm going to start with the mag tube. Now, big shout out to Brian from Build Hunt Explore. Please start uploading videos again, Brian. That would be awesome. I kind of watched his video how to disassemble this morning over my coffee so that I'm not going into this completely blind. So here we go. Okay, now this is spring loaded here, so we want to make sure to keep our finger on it. Okay, now what? Okay, so that pin is keeping that inside there. I'm going to just go one flat screw dive, smaller, not to mar up the finish of anything. Of course, we want to preserve the beautiful wood stuff too, if we ever wanted to take it back to factory. Now, these guns are incredibly sought after, and the good news is, at my store, I've actually placed quite a big order for them. So if you guys want to get yourself some Ranger Point stuff, we should have those somewhere in the near future. Okay, let's see. I must remember where all these go. And then, well, that'll do it. I don't think that was quite the way we were meant to disassemble that. So that is the part we needed to get off there. Okay, that is now off. Now there's a little bulge here, which you guys can see, and that's obviously as you're loading the mag, so there's place for the bullets to go, right? And we need a spring, and then I need to kind of figure out, let's put the wood stuff over there. Okay, so that just goes that way. Okay, and that's kind of going to be the deal with the follower. Let's do the handguard first, and then we can get to all the other bits and bobs. So our next step is going to be to remove this factory tenon from the barrel. Okay, so in order to do that, I'm going to use my little punch. I love these Wheeler leveling kits. I'm going to try leave a link to Amazon down below that on the video. If you guys use our Amazon links, we get an affiliate commission, full disclosure, and also you don't have to buy gun stuff. You can buy anything. Use our link and it kind of helps support the channel. So I'm going to knock this out. Probably going to get something to wedge under the rifle a little bit. Okay, I do enjoy, even though I've got all the fancy vices and the stuff, sometimes it's super easy to just use a Game Changer or one of our little impact bags to do work on the rifles. It just makes your life a lot easier. Now, I see that they did supply 2 tenons. So our goal is to sand this guy down. And I'm basically just going to use like 600 grit sanding paper. Hopefully, it just magically kind of goes where it needs to go. Now, as always, when removing metal, you can't put it back, okay? So a little bit goes a long way. So rub a bit, check a bit, rub a bit, check a bit. I might actually add a little bit of oil. Now this is a new product for us. This is called VLD Lube. If you guys have ever wondered how I get my bolt actions so ridiculously smooth, I run VLD Lube for the most part on my bolt gun. So check this out now. It is on our store. Also going to try link that for you guys at the end. And it's multi-purpose. I use it on my gas gun, on my pistols, on my bolt guns, the whole shebang. I opted to actually go for slightly more abrasive. I went 120 grit. I do believe nowadays when they sell these, they do ship them with the sanding paper included, just so you can sort of custom fit this. Overdoing this is going to cause the handguard to be a little bit loose, so that's the last thing we want. Yep, okay. When in doubt, add more elbow grease. For those of you following along, if you don't take your time and do this right, if you try and mood it in there with a hammer, Afrikaans word of the day, I think we've had that on a few times, but if you try and force that in with the hammer, you'll actually just end up breaking this, and I think that might be why they supply 2.
One eternity later.
Okay, so the sanding took a while. I have started to set this tenon, and it's quite cool because there's a flat spot on the bottom of this barrel. So we are basically very close to halfway. It's going to give it a few more lacquer taps. Okay. Now, that looks awesome. This little kit is one of my most used kits, the little punch set. It's been freaking really consistent tool that I often use. Okay, now I do believe we have to start getting all this stuff back together. It's gonna go in like that. Okay, we're gonna thread this fella in here with the little stop. Just want to make sure the big hole goes at the bottom. Thread, 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 thread. I hope I've got that follower in correctly. There we go. Tighten that up, and then that should theoretically drop in like that. Very nice, man. Just a little tight. And now the moment of truth. Okay, this guy's gonna come over. Okay, so we needed a little bit of finagling to get that handguard to drop, but as soon as you start like messing around with it, you can kind of figure out the orientation relatively easily. We're going to pop the spring back in as such. This is not the install video I would watch. I would watch the ones on Ranger Point, or I'd watch Brian's from Wolf Prairie or Build, Hunt, Explore. Let's see if we can get this sucker to drop back in its place. And then the handguard needs to be all the way to the rear, and then we have some screws that lines up perfectly there. There's some screws in there where we can tighten some things up. Now, generally speaking, I would suggest you guys use torque wrenches. That's why I always have my fix-it sticks here, but sometimes I just want to see where everything goes before I tighten everything up. So we've got the one side of the handguard in, and we're going to pop this other one in. And then, as I said, there are some screws that they also provide where you can like set the tension like at the rear here to make sure that things don't move around on you. Because the 4570 is quite a big cartridge to shoot. I've shot this one a little bit, as I said. Yeah, it's one of the bigger cartridges that I own on the channel. You guys know I would much rather shoot small little 6-dasher-esque cartridges. Because I don't like recoil that much. Boom! Okay, so now you'll see we have a little bit of wiggle here, but we can figure that out. Woo! Flippin' badass. That already looks cool. Oh, it's very ergonomic the way you can grip this thing. Bah! Okay, I'm gonna set these little set screws in there just to make sure everything is nice and taut. Boom, that's super easy. So there was a tiny bit of wiggle, but as soon as I popped that little set screw in, it was awesome. Now again, these guns are like bush guns, okay? They aren't gonna shoot one MOA groups. Maybe it does, I don't know. That's certainly not my expectation for this. But now, I mean, that's freaking rock solid. Badass. Okay, let's get the rear of this thing off. So I've decided to make my life a little bit easier working on this rifle, and I've just put my rock vise over here. By the way, these, by the time you guys watch this video, might be available for order on our store in South Africa. Has been an incredible addition to the workshop because we can now simply do something like this and boom, we are off to the races, and I can start working on this guy, but I actually need to be on the other side. So then what I can do, I can simply give it one of these. There we go, boom. Lock that guy down, and now my rifle is secure. Safety first. Okay, that was ridiculously easy. One bolt. Now, I did get the takedown pin that you can do the takedown without actually needing any tools for it. So that's pretty cool. This is the new replacement stock, which is gonna pop on like that. Yes. Oh, that's like flipping badass. Okay, let's get my new little takedown pin thing, which I saw in a little, there we go. Drop that back down. Yes. Freaking awesome. Yeah. What does it look like? Quite a transformation from where we were. Stoked is high. So now I'm going to put that little bullet quiver thing in there. So let's flip this back around. and get that going. I might actually slap a little piece of Picatinny rail on this just so I can work on this a little bit easier. Boom, that looks badass. Okay, next steps, we have a really cool bridge that we can run on the front here. This, let's just drop in there. Oh, that's like so cool. Like honestly guys, I wanted one of these rifles because they look cool. This is literally it. I don't have another reason. They look cool. And so yeah, both Skulk and I, we got these. It's kind of like well done for a good year. 2 years ago, or what was it when we bought these? But yeah, flippin' badass. Now, I'm very much hoping that when we add the other little trick parts, like needing to take down the lever and those kind of things, that we do not need to disassemble the whole top. So maybe I'm just gonna start these. I'm not gonna snug them because there is a world I see where we need to take everything apart again, and I'm really hoping that this is not the case. It's a fairly simple assembly, this. The biggest thing is the little sanding, and that took me maybe 15 minutes, if that. And it's largely because it's sanding, check fit, sanding, check fit. If you weren't doing that, I'm sure you'd be able to get it done. Okay, for my next step, I'm gonna try swap the lever. Okay, that was a little bit too easy. Okay, rifle's gonna just chill there for a second. So now we need to use some of the parts from our old lever. Okay, I'm gonna use a small punch to drive this out. Okay, I do believe one of the things that's strange to me on these firearms, it's when it's set, ready to go, there's like slop in the trigger, which is very, very strange, but I do believe that I have successfully swapped out the lever. Badass! Okay, now how to get there. Next problem. Okay, 100%. Okay, so I'm gonna take the lever off again. Okay, so old one out. Out of the old, in with the new, as they say. Oh, duh. Okay, so if I drop that in there. Okay, replacing this little feed plate on the side here was one of the harder bits of doing this. But again, I don't know how these things work. So after a little bit of finagling, I did get that new loading gate on. Now, I did this completely the wrong way. I kind of did it with the rifle assembled. I actually needed to pull a whole bunch of things apart. But then when I looked up how to put that little funny spring thing back that sits over here, let me just make sure that I did tighten that up. I actually saw that there's a super easy way to do that loading gate. I do think I might go for the engraving route, even though this finish is sort of the stone tumbled look. I think it'll look really cool once it's engraved. I also think this is not going to age that well. Function check, everything works fine. I'm quickly going to install this quiver on the back, but I mean, how freaking ridiculous does this rifle look? Let's pop this quiver on so we can run our big boy ammo on the back here. Something I'm not going to get to in this video is actually installing the trigger, because I have to take quite a few things apart, and YouTube also don't like us showing how to install triggers, so we're not going to do that. So YouTube person, it's worth noting we have not modified the internal function of this firearm at all, so therefore this video is allowed on the YouTube. So please don't demonetize our lovely video that we have made for the wonderful people at home. I hope you guys enjoyed seeing me struggle through this, because this is by far the most out of my depth I've been when it comes to, you know, putting together a chassis system or something like that, just because I'm, like, as I said, this is very far outside of my wheelhouse. But yeah, already loving how this looks. It looks absolutely spectacular. There are a few more little trick parts I can get. I can get a different hammer. Yeah, we'll see with time. I don't want to overdo it, and I'm thinking because of the gold and the stuff there, I might go with a 1-10 razor on this. I think that could be a pretty slick setup. Okay, this is nice and snug. You don't have to go crazy on these things, because oftentimes with the supply tools, people will inevitably break said item. Then we have our quiver over here. A lot of packaging, but obviously there's lots of little parts. Something that was also a little tricky for me is to figure out which parts I actually need to make sure that they are compatible with my rifle. And I must say Ranger Point were phenomenal with that, helping us with, you know, because basically Skulk and I now have identical rifles. They were phenomenal with helping us make sure that we get this absolutely dialed. There seems to be that's just a little extra washer for in case one of these come out. That's pretty cool. So this is now an M-LOK quiver. So we're going to get this started on this side and then quickly pop this on. This is going to be super cool. I can't wait to go to the range with this thing again. Now, if I'm nitpicking a little bit, I wish that they'd supplied the M-LOK nuts in black on the back. That way, when you look at it from the other side, it's just kind of more stealthy. Yes, baby. Banging! This flipping awesome. Boom! Now guys, we still have a handful of parts. QD sling mount, the other trigger. I've also got some other rails if we do decide to make 1 or 2 changes here, just so everything flows a little bit. I've got another one of these sort of gator rails, if you will. If you're the kind of guy that likes over gripping like this, I think that's pretty cool, so you're not touching your barrel. Obviously, we know if you want precision, you shouldn't be touching your barrel. I'm super pumped. I'm glad I've got some M-LOK slots on the side. I think I might run one of my sort of thumb recoil devices that we run on these guns. This is going to be super cool. If you guys remember, a few years ago I hunted Nyala, and I shot my Nyala with my 6-dasher in like super thick bush type terrain. That is what this gun is basically designed for. You know, it's a giant bullet going through the bushes, so if it's super dense, this is the rifle you want, and not a 26-inch match rifle slapped in a lightweight hunting chassis. So this is going to be super cool. Hopefully we get an opportunity to hunt in that kind of terrain next year, and you guys will definitely see a hunting video with this build on the channel next year. I want to give a big shout out to Ranger Point for making cool accessories like the one you guys see here, or all the stuff you see here. I'll try rolling some close-up shots of the beautifulness on this chassis. It kind of looks like it's camo, but now that I look at it again, it's just the way that they machine the lines in, and the way it catches the light, that it kind of gives it the illusion of camo, which is pretty freaking slick. Let me know what you guys think about this build. I'm super stoked with how it came out, and I can't wait to shoot it again. Guys, thank you very much for watching this video, and again, enjoying my suffering as I figured out where what goes. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.